So, I've been asked to talk to you about a topic that comes up all the time, and it's been coming up for years, and it's even a topic that I've had to struggle with and overcome and figure out ways to deal with, and that's resuming that special time or that date night time with your significant other. Once you have a child that's got sensory issues or some sort of special need, oftentimes babysitting or childcare presents itself as a pretty strong challenge. As a parent, we're real concerned about somebody that's able to meet our children's needs while we're out. A lot of our kids have meltdowns, they have peculiar behaviors, they're picky eaters. There's a myriad of issues going on with the many clients we have here, and the parents are real concerned. I'd like to go out and resume that kind of time, that me time or that us time, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about what's going on at home, and is my child having a meltdown, and are they not eating, and what sort of chaos is going on in the house at that time. And usually our families come up with and me myself have come up with a couple of options you can think about. I think, again, like I always say, planning for a date night is always the best thing to do. So figure out, when you're first starting to do this, you might want to take time out locally so you are close by. I think that will give you peace and comfort, because there's no point in going out if you're just going to stress the whole time you're out, because you defeat the purpose. I think it's real important that parents have that time away where they're not parents, because that just grows the family and that makes you fresh and ready to be there for your kids, because your kids' schedules are demanding. So you need that time. So maybe your first date needs to be local. Then you could look at larger things. But then the question becomes, well, who takes care of my child? Well, naturally, most families will say, well, my relatives will do that. Could be grandma, grandpa, could be aunt and uncle, those types of things. Well, if you're from a local area and you have a lot of family, that presents itself as a great option. Sometimes it's workable and sometimes it's not. But then on the other hand, I have a lot of families that tell me that actually, if my child stays with my relatives, they allow them to get away with things or don't draw boundaries the same way. So it's actually worse on me when I get my child back home. So that's another thing to think about. The person that you choose to watch your child should be somebody that's able to follow through with the plan you're doing. Because sometimes the easier thing is not always the best thing for your child. So that's a second thing to think about. But let's say you've moved here to Texas and you don't know a soul, which was the situation I was in. I didn't have family here. I didn't know anybody. So I had to start looking into community resources. We actually do have some great things in our community that are available for you. There's a program in Plano called Friday Night Friends, and that's put on by Custer Road Methodist Church. And they have a service, or they allow you to bring your child and actually the siblings. So your child that might have a special need, and then the siblings in, and it's like a 3 or 4 hour time segment, and I think it's once a month. But you can check with them. Great resource, very valuable resource. I really love what they've done. The other thing that I like that's in particular is they bring in nurses so they can take medically fragile children. So they're able to provide you that respite. So that's one program that's out there. I also know that there are a couple programs that are inside Allen. There's one that the Methodist Church has done in Allen, and that is done by their youth group, and their youth group will donate a Friday night a month. So you can check again with some of your local churches or the church you go to and see what resource they have. A lot of times students are looking at going into the helping professions, and so they want to donate and learn to work with this population of kiddos. So sometimes your local community can hook you up with those kids. You could look at your high schools. You could look at your community colleges. Definitely children that are studying child development, studying psychology, studying teaching, studying nursing, studying therapy. Many of these people want actually one-on-one time working with individuals that have some peculiar behaviors or sensory things, or a child with autism, because they really want to be able to learn about that disability and how it impacts their whole life. So you can reach out to those resources. And then there's some resources on the internet that you can look at. There's things like care.com, and I think there's Sitter City. You can Google those and look those up. I would highly recommend, you need to be cautious. I would recommend doing background checks. I would definitely check references. So these are things you need to look at. Like anything, when you hire anybody, you have to make sure you do that. There also, I know some people that have had success on Craigslist. That's another avenue you could look at. But again, you want to make sure you're cautious. You want to dot all your I's and cross all your T's and make sure you're checking that individual out no matter who they are.